and incredible input and enthusiasm, for which I'd like to thank him enormously. And this music is also an example of how the kind of music that you can get by sitting on the web can be taken a step further by such a person as myself or Pete or somebody to elaborate it, to bring out, as Pete said, to edit it and to make it better. And the double album has on it imaginary sitters. These aren't actual people. These are things I did in the process of trying to get to know how this process should work. And they're very exciting, and Pete and I got very excited about them, and we decided that this had to be an album. This is, in its own right, it has a lot of wonderful energy about it. Can you go back a step, Rob, please? So they exist as a kind of foretaste. They were a foretaste for me and Pete as the method software ideas were developing. They're also a foretaste for you, the public, of what is possible when the music that you sit for can be taken a stage further. And they're also wonderful. I feel very happy about these pieces. And one of the two CD equivalents, I say CD equivalents because it's available as a download, as a series of 3 what we call galaxies, which evolved out of the method process, and they are very expansive, very rich orchestral pieces that are they're more like portraits of outer space, but they somehow relate very strongly to the method process. I call those imaginary galaxies. You heard one playing as you came in. Next slide, please. The user input. Let me say something about how and what the user input actually is, because a lot of people have sort of questions that appear to me funny. So let's see. The purpose of the input is really to help you make a connection with the process. Pete mentioned that I have a metaphysical take on this. I don't have any investment in my metaphysical take. I'm very happy to talk about it as fun, just as I'm happy to talk about it as metaphysical. But ultimately, I think how you approach it will affect you in terms of what kind of results you get. And really the data is there not to be musical, and not so that we can make a model of you intellectually or mentally as a kind of picture. It's more a way of just having a physical level of interaction with that personal process that you have as you sit. What happens after you put the input in is that a lot of feature information, not the ones and zeros, people ask me about that, it's not the ones and zeros, it's the features of the image, like Dave will talk about this more in technical detail to those who want to know about it, but it extracts features from the sounds and the picture such that we have a lot of data available to then go about this huge cascade of choices which bring about all the different elements of the particular piece that's going to be generated for you. The method program is set up so that it will produce millions of pieces of music, each of which is distinct. You won't find anything, I've calculated this mathematically, you won't find any two pieces that are at all similar unless you put exactly the same data in. And also I like to point out that although the method program has a lot of rules, Dave has put thousands of lines of code into this program, it does have a huge amount of freedom. One of the philosophies I applied in really approaching doing it is I wanted to allow things to happen. I don't want to impose myself on it. I wanted to give it as much freedom as possible to respond to the data that people put in and make specific choices from that. And it comes to techie stuff, so I'm trying to keep it, we can go into detail later, but I just want to give you a little taste of the kind of planning that's gone into the program. The thing all hinges on this idea of melodic vortices. Sounds a bit funny, I'll explain what I mean. This harmonic math that I developed, and Dave has been helping me with this now for 14 years, and a lot of other people have helped me develop these ideas. It produces a repeating pattern, a melodic pattern. And that pattern itself is able to change dynamically in incredibly interesting ways. There's a vast dimensional amount of information packed into the way it changes, so that you continually get interesting pattern relationships and structural relationships crystallizing out and then dissolving again. It's almost like a mathematics of aesthetics, and it can be applied to visual images too, such as the logo you see in the hall. And these melodic sequences are used in many different ways. The notes may be very long, they may be very short. The shortest ones are very frenetic and very bubbly, like the sound on Barbara O'Reilly. The longer ones are very expansive, like long string passages, or has more orchestral overtones, but they can equally be other instruments. The instruments we've used, actually, are taken from rock, classical, and electronica in a kind of general way. So you may get a mix of that. It can show up anywhere in the style spectrum, but it's certainly sure to be able to explore all sorts of mixes. And also, from the point of view of scales and tonalities, I've programmed into it a huge amount of different possibilities. I've taken scales and harmonic structures from all sorts of cultures, and they're often used on their own or in combination with other ones. There are literally millions of different options in there. And these melodic patterns that loop around, and we have to layer them against each other, and there's a lot of jigsawing going on about how they fit together and how they also, I think, perforations. They're not all continuous melodic streams. Some of them are gappy, so you have space for other instruments to come in and out, and that's done in a highly ordered way. All the pieces are 10 segments of 30 seconds each. One of the reasons I did this is because then two people's musics can be played at the same time. Very nice for Valentine's Day. People can hear what they sound like together. I actually axed the last two bits. So, I'd like to invite John Pigeon to show you a real piece being created afresh out of the ethers.